It has been 107 days since Chris last begged for money. It has been 390 days since Chris last uploaded pages to meet his paid obligations to the Sonichu comic, and it has been 4,050 days since Chris last applied for a job. Welcome to the Chris Chan Weekly Update. My name is GiBi. We're actually going to start over on Reddit today, in the Cult of Quick subreddit, obviously run by Jacob Sockness. So the post starts with Helena saying, "I'm gonna make a Dragon Ball Z plus Sonichu crossover comic," and Jacob really does not like that idea. "This is just gonna be a blackface reference. Nothing positive to Chris will come of allowing support to this project. I personally denounce this comic as a Christianic Bible, basically a satanic Bible in the Chris Chan mythos. Popo underwent a color change when DBZ was brought to America because his appearance is that of American blackface. Bringing up this character at all, who to my knowledge never appeared in the comics, is a mistake to endorse. I have no choice under my knowledge but to condemn this comic based on the promotion of Chris's Popo cosplay and its interpretation in the greater lore of her life." I'm gonna show on screen right now Chris dressing as Mr. Popo wearing blackface. Solid part of Chris's history. Helena responds, "Well, Chris, the old version is gonna be all the other characters that are not the main characters. Think of it as a satanic thing. I am an atheist, and until Chris shows me her powers, will not believe in her like I believe no god or gods. Popo is not needed, but old Chris will do all minor character roles because this is a post-merge comic, and by extents, I think she means by extension. Judging by the words contexto and todos los comentarios, I'm assuming that Helena is Spanish. Old Chris is more known that Christine. Christine is going to be Beerus, the destructor of worlds, because she made it all and can delete it all in a second." She didn't actually say all, I just added that because that's how I naturally would have read that. Okay, so now we have the DBZonichu Twitter account, and it's being run by Helena, so you can see artist Helena. Looks like Punchy is Goku. Anyway, so the point of reading all this is that Chris responded to it. "Actually, Mama will be very much in the foreground, still, a lot of times in a supporting role, at minimum. You both have issues of your own on thinking so lowly of yourselves, and thinking your chronicling is satanic. With that, Sonichu, you're chronicling an alt dimension." So Chris is now saying that this DBZ Sonichu crossover comic is in fact canon, just in a different dimension, of course. He does say Mama will be in the foreground, so I don't know if he means that the version of Chris Chan in that universe will be a main character, or if he means that our Chris Chan, which is not the person who's typing because Sonichu is still in Chris Chan's body, if he means that that Chris will be in all the universes. See, this is why I need a webcam, because I'm Italian and I talk with my hands. DB Sonichu replies, "You are so right. Supporting roles for Christine too. It is only fair. Good to know it's not just me and the writer being insane, but another dimension. It happens post-merge, and it is so we all learn what mistakes not to commit." I thought the only two dimensions merging were this real dimension and then the capital F fictional dimension where Sonichu lives, the C-197 and 1218. I don't think any other dimensions are merging, according to Chris. Many faces of Christine. Timid Chan, Glee Chan, Rage Chan, Sad Chan. I love this drawing a fan sent that we received today. So if you remember last week, Chris was talking about gender-bent versions of his characters. He said that Rosechu's counterpart is named Russell. Ashley Rosechu, a very common person who comments on Chris's videos, says, "I drew Rosechu's counterpart Russell." So this is the male Rosechu. The issue with that is that if you remember, when Chris started writing Sonichu, there were no gender differences between Pokemon. That didn't start until Gen 4. So all Raichus look the same. But then the Pokemon Company decided that you could tell the difference in genders of Raichus by whether or not their tail had a point at the end of it. It turns out that Chris had always been drawing Rosechu with the male-tipped tail, because that was the only one that existed when he invented her. But of course, he couldn't just say that that was a mistake because there wasn't information given out by the Pokemon Company. He had to say that this is all real, which means obviously that at the time, Rosechu was male. So he retconned the entire comic, said that Rosechu was born with a male tail because she was a male Pichu, who later over time became female due to magic stuff. So because Russell here is Rosechu's counterpart, it means that he was born female, and thus needs a female tail. So this male tail that, what's her name, Ashley drew him with is incorrect. So he says, very nice, I failed to mention, since we're talking about the gender-bent dimension, Russell was born a female Pichu and ended up with a male-dominant parts. His tail is not pointed. So now, Ashley corrects it with this. This is now like the, this is like a Pikachu tail, and it's pink, so it's still wrong. And Chris has to say, no, a female Raichu tail, the white instead of black. See the flat tip? So this would be the male tail, this would be the female tail. And so then she just kind of cut off the end, and then it's fixed. I thought the critique of the drawing ended there, but it turns out that there's more. He says, best yet at this point, he also wears a fashionable red-blue jacket. Sonichu wears a sporty blue short top and blue short pants. He's just asking for fan drawings. He's asking people who actually would go out of their way to make him fan art to correct it. He's asking them to fix it. So Ashley actually goes and does it. So we have a full sleeve, and then we have a vest. I don't like that. I don't like how Russell is giving me bedroom eyes. So back to Helena. She has been drawing a comic, apparently. This is the 100th page of her comic. And this is her OC, Pikachu. And Magi-chan has returned to Pikachu. I don't read it. I don't know the story. But Chris says, well, I'm glad yours returned safe. Yours being her version of Magi-chan. Because obviously it's not the canon, true version of Magi-chan. It's the one that exists in the dimension that her fan comic takes place in. Because this isn't confusing at all. He will help you out in your local area, where you are in the coming events. Fantastic question. I love this, actually. Okay, this guy's asking, I had to read this 3 times since I didn't really get it at first. He's asking whether or not, after the dimensional merge, once all fictional characters become real, if the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh!, like the actual card game, which theoretically after the merge should be like the show, where you play the card and then the monster comes to life, will the rules for the game that we play be the rules in the real world, like the Konami rules that they play at tournaments right now, or will they be the rules in the current iteration of the anime? So, will the rules of the game change to follow the anime's rules? Chris responds, the card game rules are the same in the present standard rules. There are designated dueling arenas, and functioning duel discs are available. You'll be able to duel against the players chronicled in the anime series. Only a fresh tournament post-merge will tell. So his answers, the card game rules are the same in the present standard rules. I think he means they will be. So he's saying that the rules will stay the same as they are on Earth, not as they are in the other dimension. Alright, I don't really know this whole story, but some tech expert guy in Sweden who's in charge of their security for something, he guessed Trump's Twitter password a couple months ago, and then he contacted the White House and is like, hey, I guessed Trump's Twitter password, he should probably change it, because it'd be bad if someone just logged into his account and tweeted stuff. So then Trump changed it, and then 6 months later, now he did it again, and so that's what this article is about. And Chris responds, a lol, yas. A lol stands for actually laughing out loud. He does not seem to see the irony of laughing at someone for having their password guessed, because that would happen to him constantly. Alright, you guys want to see a super long, fun thread? Hey everyone. Recently, our associates and I recorded a video where I, Sonichu, essentially gave a sermon of our Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu. This is also a long-awaited continuation from what Mama had tweeted nearly 2 years ago. The video will be uploaded in a day or so, and this was on October 22nd, so the video should be up. I'll check it later. So this is going to be Sonichu in Chris's body, giving a sermon about Chris Chan. I'm assuming that's not exactly how you would use the word sermon. I'm guessing he just means he's going to be talking about worshiping Chris. How should you worship Chris? The same way that a priest would give a sermon about Jesus, he's giving a sermon about Chris Chan. Not to be confused with a eulogy, that's a very different thing. Meanwhile, after all of the extensive recollection, thought, and time I took to personally handwrite it, here it is, in regards to the dimensional merge. Hashtag C1, here's his weird hashtags for the combined dimension. This is his Part 5 Guide to the Dimensional Merge. Community, present events, and personal experiences. Hey there. Sonichu Prime here, still in Mama Chris Chan's body for over 6 months now. With Mama's dimensional merge refreshed in our memories, let's talk about the communities and what y'all in 1218 can and should do. Mama's tweet sets were shown to everyone in C197 as well when they got typed up 2 Octobers ago. Since then, the common folk around the Earth have been mindset on prep work. All of the local government peoples consulted with our OP psychic types, the Justice League, the Avengers, the CPUs of game industry, world leaders, and so on, to get the details, make plans, and kept the larger details coded down for everyone else's comprehension. It's actually better for all to remain calm, patient, alert, and focused, instead of overthinking things. Nothing personal, or insulting meant. Anyway, most everyone has their VAC kits, taken up survival and outdoor learning from the various book, educational videos, etc. And in each country and city, they have their plans made out and distributed pamphlets on those. Even President Herbert Garrison called the prep work plans in order. Thank deities we do not have your pandemic in C197, freaking social distancing orders, Trump, and Oh my god, if the dimensions merge together, it's gonna be twice as hard to social distance, because there's gonna be so many more people. Everyone has been practicing common sense, quick as possible thinking, and mental processing, and working together in all of this. Next subtopic, our experiences since 2018, which are about the same as in 1218 here. Everyone has become able to see through the Iron Curtain, dimensional divide, if you will. Most refrained, I'm just gonna guess that means refrained. Most refrained, but more than a quarter or third have interacted and talked with some of y'all. And y'all have seen and talked with us as well, okay. More and more portals and breaks have been appearing and manifesting around the world and throughout the galaxies of the Iron Curtain between our dimensions. And some have safely and successfully traversed to the other dimension and back between 1218 and C197. Everyone who had perished so far, meeting Mama's estimates, respectively, it has to be that, respectively, have safely merged and awakened in their self-counterparts' bodies, brains, and consciousnesses. Because the merge and the other universe and stuff are like his weird version of heaven, everybody who's died, due to Chris's guidance, has awoken on the other side as their OC. The tallied numbers of individuals in C197 who were confirmed of waking up here, those who came from 1218 in this matter, to be in the millions. And in 1218, the number of your waking up individuals, after soulfully migrating from C197, were in the 100,000s, less than 500,000. To be clear, this of amongst the common people with mundane types of lives and hardly any life-extending powers and superpowers, and those who lacked in endurance and fortitude, and the honorable mentions to the unavoidable and twist of fate. So because Chris obviously believes that creative people with OCs, so someone like Stanley, right, they would obviously wake up in the other dimension as their OC. Chris is saying that of the normal people who don't have any superpowers and aren't creative and don't get visions into the other universe, of them, only about 500,000 wake up in the other dimension. And so, like, they get to merge in the other dimension when they die. I don't know where this number is, like, what it's out of. He's saying 500,000. Is this out of everyone who's died in the last 2 years, or out of every human who's ever lived? He's not clear about that. Also, we have confirmed buildings and objects fully transitioning into the other dimension from the other side. Gotham City has seen buildings from 1218 appear on the outskirts around them. Your Statue of Liberty manifested next to ours, and the next day, our Statue of Liberty disintegrated and became lost in the void. Temples in our Saudi Arabia crumbled, and your temples appeared and replaced them. Of our countries of China and Japan, our buildings have appeared in 1218 shortly after these same structures fell and crashed in 1218. The leftover rubble around them from the former was obvious, and I can go on with the Notre Dame, and all of California that burned in 1218 in favor of those cities from C197, including our Emor, probably his weird anime girl game reference. The OG Reshiram was doing a bang-up job here. Yeah, the California wildfires were caused by the fire dragon Pokemon Reshiram in order to free up space for the dimensional merge. Fortunately, in combination between both dimensions, most every 1E got out of the transitioning buildings and survived. Most every 1E. Not everybody E. Only most every 1E. That means that some people are dying. The combined number of deaths by becoming stuck in fading walls, floors, and so on were only just over 10 people. Sadly, their bodies disappeared into the void in all of that. But they are not forgotten and have been counted. If they're not forgotten, what are their names, Chris? Tweet out their names. The people in China and Japan and wherever else he was talking about. Chris, why didn't you save them? And the last subtopic for now, I will tell you all a few true stories about myself, Sonichu Prime. Y'all know my origins. Born a Pichu on April 20th, 1992, evolved, collision with Sonic, became the first ever Sonichu, met Rosie, had adventures and learned/grew a lot, a warrior of Quickville, and then some. I often have had dreams and nightmares, spawned from the hate-filled, alt-dimension fanfics written in 1218. Our Magichan and our Rosie Rosechew helped me to stay grounded and calm with meditation and all that. But they just call Rosechew normally. But I guess all the other Rosechews have Rosechew kind of like as their title or last name. Like they'll say Bubbles Rosechew, right? So does that mean that Rosechew's full real name is Rosechew? I also had my times of doubt over Christine Chan, Mama's, central self-counterpart in CO97 y'all read about. I had thought one time or another that I could do Christine Chan's job better. I was also aware of Mama in 1218. So he's just throwing his comic version under the bus that he himself wrote. I've never acted against either of them, and then freaking Idea Guy with his villain-motivated powers put a major pain on our Earth and Equestria in C197 with his Nazis, manipulating the CPUs with Johnson Wiles, and while I was spending time in making good with Mama, herself, Idea Guy had gotten into my brain and turned me. Yeah, remember when Sonichu wanted to have sex with Chris? It was horrible, and Mama had never stopped being kind with me, and I was blinded as I threatened her. Though she got tough love with me and brought me back to my senses. And worlds of relief when she finally used her Aether to undo all of Idea Guy's chaos in C197. I still remember it all, though, but I've toughed it out and recovered of my own will, and helped from my family, friends, and our goddess, Mama Christian Sonichu. Since then, I've counted my duty and worked hard in everything, including all of our prep work for the merge. And getting Mama, with her one OG body, safely and fully into C197 from 1218. I've also traversed and visited other planets, dimensions, and timelines with Rosie, by myself, or with Magichan, for additional tech, resources, and helpful supplies. And the big moment. Magichan told me as much as possible of the upcoming body swap between Mama and I. Every single foreseen possibility, outcome, and what to do. So, I kept my coal, and waited through February and March of 2020. Come March 31st, Krakow, zapping it up to the extreme, here I was, and still am, over 6 months now. I tell you all, the majority of you can hardly ever comprehend the genuine overpower, abilities, endurance, fortitude, and overall strength and speed this one body and brain has. So many visions, deja vu moments, telepathy, telekinesis, and so on, to every power you can think of in this dimension, and then some. No exaggerations. 1218 restrictions have been tough to work with, but the magic and everything has been, and is, returning here, and the powers of this body and brain have become easier to utilize. This brain is constantly connected with the cosmos, and its self-counterparts in all other dimensions and timelines. It also goes off in massive aura energy glowing, and sometimes mild pangs of pain when something, anything, is happening between our two Earths and the Iron Curtain, and then some. Okay, so new lore alert. Chris is saying that his brain, so the Christian brain, is connected to all other Christians in the multiverse. This body and brain is literally are literally. This body and brain is literally working, doing, interdimensionally, and goddessly traversing tough, rough, and hard every single millisecond. And I, Sonichu Prime, have tried and kept on continuing on until that in the new pandemic-free version of the Omega timeline at BabsCon 2020, when I finally return this body to Mama Chris-chan Sonichu. I tell you all, as OP a soul I am unable to do Mama's job as good as only she, our OG Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu of Earths 1218 and C197, can. This work, her body and brain, her goddess-level overpowers and abilities, all tailor and custom-made only for her. I never should have ever doubted her, with my most deep apologies for doubting her, and I pledge and repledge my duty, loyalty, and best of myself, my powers and abilities to her now and after, when she and I swap into our original bodies in the new timeline. I have learned, grown, and characteristically grown over this time and humble service to and for her. All praise, prayers, and power to our goddess of 1218 and C197, Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu. Hashtag Dimensional Merge. Hashtag 1218 C197. Hashtag 1C211987. So going back to the discussion last week about the gender-bent dimension, this person, Santa, or Punished Santa, replies, "I wish I could believe my daydreams are me seeing into another dimension." And Chris responds, "Actually, it is fact that when you daydream, you are seeing into another dimension, so you have no reason to doubt yourself on that." Alright, so Helena drew another comic. This is Robert Chu, Chris's father. "Wait right here. I own your name. You cannot do crime here." And then this little Bieber guy with the little tooth says, "Aw, man," and walks away dejected. "Robert Chu sure is fast defeating bad guys." And Chris says, "Uh-huh, yes, Robert Chu has been and is doing his part in working with the rest of us in Quickville. But this orange dude, who is he and what did he do? Gonna need some context." Helena replies, "Nothing yet. Magi-chan told Robert Chu that Bieber Man was about to steal stuff and burn a real police station, and Robert Chu hurried, copyrighted the name, and stopped the male Rose Chu from doing crime." Chris says, "I see. Okay, firstly, between the drawing of Bieber Man and Russell, as male Rose Chus, they have the Raichu ears, not the triangle ones that female Rose Chus have. Second, you can't typically copyright someone else's name. Third, what Robert Chu would typically do, since Magi-chan had given him the heads up about Bieber Man, is that he would intercept Bieber Man, offer a kind greeting, and talk with him to prevent the crime from happening. This was an occurrence that would obviously have been prevented by civil and friendly means, as opposed to brute force." At Chris Chan, "I drew a picture of you. What do you think of it?" It's aight. He has so much, criticism for everyone's fan drawings, and then with this one, it's just, yeah, that's fine. He doesn't see a problem with that. At Chris Chan, "I made my very own Sonichu OC. He is Sonichu's favorite uncle, and his name is Confederate Chu. I be a Chandler, keep Quickville great. Make C197 great again." That's Asper Chu in the background. Chris says, "He is not my uncle. He is the uncle of a special Sonichu who resides in the USA outside of Virginia. Bad Mr. Pickle Man, you can't shower for an hour. Other people also need to shower." Then Sonichu turns on the shower with a squeak, and then it says, "Ah, pickle juice," because the shower's showering him with pickle juice. And Helena says, "Evil Pickle Man." And Chris says, "What a terrible bad dream. I have 7 more cartoony ideas with that evil Pickle Man. I dreamt about it while was trying to fall asleep. Instincts tell me I'm not gonna like this." Alright, here's all of Helena's dreams. "Ouch, my glove. Trips over nothing while floating. Movie cinema pickles on Sonichu accidentally eating one and getting paralyzed." Sonichu eats a movie theater pickle, okay. "Little pickle with arms and legs showering. Sonichu kicks him out, showers, waters, pickle juice." Okay, so we just saw that one. "Annoyed smelly Sonichu is having breakfast. Mooney pickle bites is the cereal. More paralysis." So, pickle cereal? "Rose Chu about to call an ambulance. Portal open. She pinches a man butt. Rose Chu T-posing over Sonichu and he is scared. Oh no, my worst nightmare, a dominant woman." Sonichu showing his kids his trophy room. There are newspaper clippings of his feats. Yes, I am the hero Sonichu. I should have known it was you. I thought it was another Sonichu that did all this, since is the name of our species. Sonichu, what's for dinner? Roastchu, pizza with stuffed crust. Sonichu bites and is pickle. Pickle? Pickle with arms and legs is in the kitchen. No face, apron, and chef hat. Turns to look at the audience. Pickchu wants to sleep. He wakes up to type. LOL, funny pickle. Funniest thing I have thought of in my life. Sonichu is in therapy. Therapist. Well, we need to do some exposure therapy to this fear of your... Yeah? Therapist takes out mask to reveal a small pickle head inside the therapist body. Pickle Man did it again. Ugh, I called it. I am not a fan of that. That's the worst nightmare. Next one after this one better have me waking up next to Rosie. No longer dreaming. Rosie usually notices when I've had a bad dream. She hums a song and reminds me that it was only a bad dream. I come to. I come to. I'm trying to say it like, you know, I come to, like I wake up, but I can't not hear it. And the last thing that Chris did is retweet this beautiful video of a rock boy. Chris also recorded another Q&A on Discord. This was on October 26th, but it's actually an audio recording this time, so I don't need to read it. I'm going to play you some clips.
Hello, this is Sonichu talking to the Audacity app, giving this a test run. So to test this out, I'm going to go over those questions that I have previously answered from Lanechu, but that audio recording didn't quite go through, so I'm going to answer these questions once again. Over a year ago, a video that showed you yelling at a toilet and asking where Crystal went leaked out to the internet. What led to the creation of this video and why was it recorded? Hey, you toilet! What happened to my baby? You can blame frickin' idea guy / Joshua Wise for that, because he had told Mama that we Sonichus and Roastchus did not like using the toilet, treat it like an enemy, which that is not true. We respect and use the toilet when we are civilized, and Rosie and I, among us specials, and the rest of us who actually live in a domicile, we respect and are domesticated. Dear Christine, in the past you showed a fondness / conversational ability for Spanish. Do you still use it in your day-to-day? And if so, have you chosen a new Spanish name for yourself? Before coming out as trans, you refer to yourself occasionally as Ricardo. Is there an equivalent for your current self? Alright, so the story behind that Ricardo nickname, Mama had to choose a Spanish apellido, which that's a Spanish term for nickname, and she had picked that on respect to Desi Arnaz, who played Ricardo. And I'm just having a little fun using Mama's ability to roll her R's, which is really fascinating. Not really, but it's fun to do anyway. But yeah, she has not chosen a new Spanish nickname for herself, and from time to time we do end up still using the Spanish language on occasion. Dear Christine, what do you believe was the coolest thing you've done as a child? That was definitely a long time ago. I guess to pick one, I'd say the coolest thing she ever done was, at only a few weeks old, she said the word monkey, as opposed to mommy, or even possibly as opposed to Magi, as in Magic-chan. Can we get a sneak peek of the pages of the next comic? Well, we're still stuck. We still haven't quite finished book 15. And Mama's not back yet. She's the one that does the writing and drawing of the pages, not me, Sonichu. So, gonna be a while before y'all get new pages, so I'm sorry. It's not my fault. It's just the way the fate events happened that Mama and I swapped body over 6 months ago, and I still gotta get this body to her at BamsCon earlier this year. Going back in time and preventing this frickin' pandemic in your dimension. Jeez! Thank you all for listening, and this was a test recording throughout the Audacity app as well. Have a good, safe day.
And if you go to Chris's YouTube channel, you will see that he completely lied about having that sermon up on his channel. It's not there. So that's the end of the Chris Chan weekly update for this week. You can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin for more updates. Please subscribe if you want to see other videos about Chris Chan, Jacob Sockness, and related topics like other absurd people.